Please listen carefully.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 10th official episodes of Hypothetical Siblings.
We double digits now,
We
bitch.
double digits, bitch.
You understand that means that we've been doing this for 2.5 months.
No, I do not.
That's how time works, generally.
'Cause
4
it's
weeks in a
10
month.
weeks
Yeah.
for 2 months in a week. 2 months and 2 weeks.
2 months in a week. 2 months and 2 weeks. What the fuck is going on?
Because 10 episodes is
2
4
months
and 4.
And 2 weeks.
Yeah, what did you...
2 months in 2 weeks. If you guys hear any jingling, I guess we'll get this out of the way at the start. There's a 12-pound dog that is currently making a nest of our studio.
Yes, he's getting the blanket that's on the ground and balling it up for himself.
Because we are the lowest budget podcast, and therefore have to use blankets as soundproofing.
And also because we love our little baby doggo, and we'll let him do whatever he wants.
He is cute, and it is good. It is good to pet him.
Yes. Also, he got a haircut today, so he's all clean and he smells nice.
It's nice.
And you can see his eyes again.
Yeah, he's a little furry, hairy baby.
Yeah, hairy baby.
Is that like from something?
Big Hero 6. How could you forget?
I saw that movie maybe twice.
You said it all the time.
And it came back in like
You used to
2014.
say it all the time.
When did that come out?
Don't ask me.
Right. Fuck, sorry.
Just because I don't know. And I don't want to look stupid.
Well, now we both look dumb.
Because I'm intelligent AF.
Intelligent. Are you wise, though?
I had a dream about something. Like my alarm clock saying wisdom. So I kind of feel like, yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, it just said wisdom. I was like, okay. Good morning. Wake up.
What time is it?
Wisdom.
Hi, Babu.
Hi, Diego. How was your week?
My week was good.
That's it.
So I'm trying to think of like what happened. Well, no, because the way that we had to record the last podcast, we didn't get to talk about D&D, right?
Yeah. Why?
Did we just forget?
No, I think we did it before. I don't ask.
We did it? No, because we did it before. Well, we did the podcast before we played, right? But we also talked about like our characters and things like that. But we didn't
have
because nothing
happened yet.
Right. So we played D&D. Oh God, not even last Sunday, right? It was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Now, didn't we talk about it? Anyway, we played D&D with our family. That was fun. And it was interesting to watch, especially our mom, get out of her comfort zone and basically play pretend, which is just not something that she
really does.
Yeah, like that's not the type of person. She's always the more logical. And it's not to say that she doesn't like to have a good time. It's just that she doesn't like to be that variety of silly.
Yeah, like she really doesn't like dressing up for Halloween or anything just because she...
makes her uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes her uncomfortable. So, like, to role play with her was really interesting. And,
right.
Yeah.
Lainey here blew up a man's house.
I did. I did not think about the consequences of my actions.
The important thing to consider, children, when casting an area of effect spell is where exactly the area is that will be affected.
Yeah. I did kill Troglodyte, but I also just tore apart a man's house.
She absolutely exploded this poor Albert.
His
Albert
porch.
Burger. Yeah, it was perch in half of his bedroom.
Oh, rip.
Rip and pepperoni, Albert Burger.
But I paid him off, so
You did.
Okay.
You paid him off with a large amount of money, and he was still upset, but was now rich.
Yeah, because I didn't understand how money works that well, so I just gave him more than I... But
this poor farmer who's making the equivalent of like copper pieces a day just got handed 4 gold and was like stunned silence.
Yeah.
Well, so that was fun. We played D&D and it was a good time. I don't know if we will play again, simply for the fact that it takes a long time, and our family time on the Sundays is usually just reserved for hanging out.
Right.
And there's a lot more stress involved when there's, something to be accomplished as opposed to just like, some game or some puzzle or something like that. That's a lot more relaxed.
Well, on this Sunday, you and I both worked before coming over, so we were tired.
Toast. It is also Father's Day was this last weekend, and we had ourselves a little Father Day get-together thing, barbecue.
Right. Well, that was also for our dad's birthday, though.
That was also for our dad's birthday. Which, shout out Dad. Congratulations on getting older and surviving.
Yes, on being the age of an alien.
Age of an alien. That's correct.
Correct.
But yeah, it was fun to see the family and hang out with our little cousins who we talked about relatively.
We talked about them a few times, actually.
Did we?
Yeah.
Just because they're high chaotic energy?
They are high chaotic. Also, because it's summer, we're seeing them more often.
That's true, because we're all out of our more heavy obligations.
School. We're out of school.
What else did I do in my week? I don't know that I really did much, to be honest, that I haven't talked about, because I already talked about going camping and stuff, because that was last week. I've been hanging out with my friends a lot more. I went to my friend's house the other day to put together IKEA furniture because she has a new roommate and they went to IKEA and then came back with all the sorts of shelves and kallax and schwerholds and all sorts of, Swedish furniture. I got to do that, which was fun. It was good because I'd never been over to her house before, and so it was fun to see, like...
how people live.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right, is like... I think there's one thing to know a person just kind of pseudo-socially.
Right.
Right, where it's just you see them at work or you just see them at school or something like that. But then you see, like, their home. And you're like, oh. Her house makes me nervous. She lives in an apartment, not a house. But it makes me nervous because it's the relatively confined space. It's still a cozy little place. But it's relatively confined and there's lots of breakables everywhere. And I am a relatively large person that is generally unaware of my body space, right? And so I'm just waiting to, like, crash through, like, a rack of wine glasses that's just sitting in the living room because, oh, yeah. She also has a cat and a dog in that little place, and they run around like no other. So I don't really understand how things don't get broken, but good on them for figuring that out.
Yeah, for real. That reminds me, I'm also not spatially aware.
Yeah, like, you just run into shit?
All the time. And also when I, sophomore year of high school, I sprained my ankle. And the very first day that I had my boot on at school, I was walking behind this chick and she had headphones in and I flat tired her because I wasn't spatially aware of my boot because it was the very first day of wearing it. And I flat tired her and she kind of turns around and I do it again and I was like, shit, like I need to control myself. And she like... looks more pissed off, but still keeps walking. I do it a fucking third time.
What is wrong with you?
I could not, I don't know.
Like, after the second time, why do you just not stop moving? Like, just be like, nope.
Because I had to get to class, the bell rang. I can't just stop. But anyway, she, took her headphone out and turned around and was like, watch where you're going, and, got in my face. And I was like...
You said, I'll kill you.
No, I said, I will cry right now. And I did a little bit before getting to class.
Good.
But some rando guy next to me was like, wow, she's in a bad mood. I was like,
thank you, random person.
Yes, I said thank you very much.
I always love that, because that happens a lot at work, right? Anytime you're working with the public, you get shitty people. And we've talked about this. But you get the shitty person who either does or says a shitty thing, and then there's the person next to you that's like, what the fuck is wrong with them? Yeah. And you're like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah, that happened last summer when I was working. Some lady was like, does it take 2 of you guys to fill up drinks? Because we were filling up people's sodas for them.
You said,
and I was like, what? It was the only thing that they ordered, so yes. And it goes faster when 2 people do it, so I don't know what you're complaining about. And the lady who got the sodas was like, I'm sorry you have to deal with people like her. Right in front of her face.
Savagery.
And the lady looked at her like, okay. And then she was like, these kids on their phones. I was like, we are not.
What are you on?
We are not on our phones.
We don't have phones on us.
Also,
man.
we're doing it faster. What are you complaining about?
Those are the type of people that make me want to throw, like, change in their face. Like, just a fistful of pennies, just full, like, Mach 5. Get cut by these Lincolns, bitch.
Okay, speed racer.
Yeah, exactly. I had some other point about that. Oh, so at my work, I carry, like, a scanner phone. But it's all Wi-Fi, so it's just so I can communicate with other people who are working, and so I can, like, scan and find prices and do stuff like that. And people have, like, got uppity with me about being on my phone before, and I'm like, ma'am, I'm checking the price, like, you know, like, and then I show it to him, and I'm like, do you think I just carry this, like, brick level BlackBerry, like, fucking 2008, you know, like, very bizarre.
Yeah. Speaking of pennies, there was a legend, low-key, that went around my school, where this one kid from my class, like, got pulled over, because he had been drinking, but, like, he wasn't wasted, but, like, enough to where he would have got in trouble.
Right.
And apparently he just put a shit ton of change, like, in his mouth, like, pennies and stuff, and, like, swished them around and stuff and spat them out. It fucking disguised his, like, breath or whatever, the alcohol.
Sure.
But he got a mad infection because
that's
change is fucking dirty.
I was like, fucking, like, change, like, the idea of taking filthy, like, pocket change and just, like, and just, God. And just that, like, metallic taste. The key here is, children, don't drink and drive, first of all. And second of all, don't put change or money in your mouth. Yeah,
the amount of circulation that happens with change is so immense that
everyone's touching it with their hands, and there's cocaine and all sorts of bodily fluids.
Right. And you don't wash your change. No one does that, so...
Yeah.
Really don't.
Every time you get change, you just, like, hand sanitize it and just... like, rub it, polish it up,
put it in my rock tumbler.
There you go. I think the only thing of note besides that happened this week is I recently, well, not recently at this point, I caught a couple of fish a while ago, a couple of trout, right? And I said, you know what? I'm gonna cook this trout. I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna bake it up, and I'm gonna be a good cook man, right? And so I look up a recipe because I know of the way in which you cook trout, that you wrap it in tin foil with, like, lemon and butter and shit like that, and then it bakes, you know. And that's probably the simplest way to do it. But I read the recipe wrong. And for some reason, the recipe was for 2 separate trout as opposed to a single trout.
Yeah, trout.
And so it calls for 2 pieces of aluminum foil that get wrapped around the trout. And so I wrap 2 pieces of aluminum foil around the trout and basically double pack it, right? And then I bake it at 400 for 10 minutes, whatever it is. I pull it out. And the living room that I'm eating it in is relatively dim because the only light in the room is a dimmer switch because I apparently live in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there watching YouTube and eating this fish, and I'm like, this still tastes really fishy. And it doesn't really have a lot of flavor for having been baked and stuff like that. But I put, like, garlic salt and lemons and butter and, like, a bunch of stuff on it. And I take a couple more bites. I'm like, nah, this isn't right. And I take it back into the kitchen and look at it, and it was just still raw. just raw fish. Just consume, but it's warm.
Ew.
So it's like body temperature raw fish that I'm just sitting there, like, macking on. And I'm like, and then there's this thought of, like, do I need to, like, make myself throw up so I don't get horrible, like, gut worms and shit?
Right.
And then I was like, I didn't see any, like, parasites or whatever. I'm probably okay.
Yeah, probably. Yep. Yeah, you probably wouldn't die from that. You probably know you were sick before having it.
It was warm enough, and it's been in it. I also froze it, you know, and then defrosted it before cooking it. So I'm like, I guess whatever's in there is probably dead.
Yeah.
I can hope. And so I put it back with 1 piece of tin foil, and I baked it, and it was good. And then it tasted and sounded like fish should taste and sound. Well, you know, like when you cook something and it has, like, the sound of having been cooked where it's kind of spitting, like meat. Where it's
yeah.
You know?
was very confused for a second.
Yeah, the trout did not, sing to me after I baked it.
Yeah, otherwise then you knew you had a problem.
No longer had a head.
That reminds me of when we were at our godmother's house eating BJ's, and you guys got ahi poke or whatever, and I fucking thought it was a tomato, a raw fish, and I just...
Lainey is not a fan of raw, really anything, so...
What else raw can you eat? Fish and... I think you can eat... What's pate? Is that beef?
I have no... Isn't it duck? Like duck liver ground up or something like that?
No.
Is that foie gras?
Yeah, that's foie gras.
I don't know what a pate is.
I can eat raw vegetables.
There you go.
Do you think that cheese is raw?
No, it's been processed. Because it's milk that has been processed to be turned into cheese.
Yeah, okay. But it does not exist before in a raw state. Like, it does, but it's something different.
I would argue that the raw state of cheese is milk.
But it's a different thing. So do you think that cheese, after having been turned into cheese, is then raw cheese, and then when you cook it, it's cooked cheese?
I think you can cook cheese in the same way that you can cook something that has been processed. But I don't think that it is the cooking of a food that makes it not raw. I think it is the process. Like butter is not raw.
But dough is raw.
Because...
And it's flour before, with yeast.
Flour and yeast and water.
Suck on that, America. Raw cheese for the win!
Raw cheese. Only raw cheese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
Oh, yeah.
Don't do that.
I'm a winner. Petey Wiener. Here we go.
How was your week, Petey Wiener?
It was great, actually.
Yeah?
Hung out with some people, like I have been doing. Working. Feeling pretty confident at my job ever since my promotion, so that's good.
Good. Good to
had
have
a meeting,
confidence.
so I felt like an adult because I had a meeting for work. And most recently, got Animal Crossing.
Oh!
Just
true.
yesterday. And it is so fun. So many people have been telling me to get it, and that's like a game that I would really enjoy. And I was like, yeah, okay. And finally, freaking yesterday, I was just like, okay, I'll get it.
Yeah.
And I love it so much.
Well, so it's my credit card that's hooked up to the Nintendo Switch that we have. And all of a sudden, I just see a Venmo from Lainey for $60, and I was like, what the fuck did I do to deserve $60? Turns out, my credit card was pirated by my sister in order to buy games off the internet, and then I was paid back post-haste.
Yeah. Also, I paid you $59. It was $59.99, and I paid you $60. So
wow. That extra penny's just for me.
Keep that change, buddy.
Wow.
But it's so wholesome, and you basically do nothing in it, and I just love it so much.
Well, it's just a good, relaxed game.
Right.
Right. It's just very good to sit with and just be cozy and then do things. Just go and you talk to your villagers and you...
Right.
What villagers? For those who are in the know, you have villagers in Animal Crossing, yes. So... There is you. There is a raccoon that kind of runs the show and
named Tom Nook,
and is the administrator of the town.
And then there's Timmy and Tommy, who are related
nephews.
to him.
His nephews.
Yeah, nephews. And my two villagers I have right now are Rory, who is a lion, and he calls me Capital, which I don't understand. And he likes to lift weights, and I love him. And then there's fucking Charlize, who is a green bear, and she's a bitch. I talked to her a few times at the beginning just to see what's up, and she gave me some stuff, so I kept talking to her. And then finally yesterday, she was like, wow, is this island not big enough for the two of us? And then I talked to her again later, and she's like, why do you keep bumping into me, and am I on a prank camera TV show? And I was like, listen, bitch. And she says ugh all the time, and she's just got a bad attitude.
Well, it's supposed to be erg, right? Like U-R-G-H, like the bear sound?
No, I think she's just being a bitch. Rory doesn't say rar or anything, roar.
Yeah, he just calls it Capital.
Yeah, so. And today, I went to a new island and invited an anteater named Annalise to come live on the island. She has not arrived yet, but looking forward to it. She seems really nice. Mm-hmm. And she got a nifty little green hat on. She
does. A nifty little green Paddington Bear hat and a raincoat.
I look like Paddington Bear in the game because I have a tulip hat and a raincoat on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
And that comprises your entire week.
Yeah. I mean.
Anything else you want to throw out there?
Oh, so I really have been wanting to roller skate lately because of TikTok.
Okay.
And I like to roller skate. And so Mom just fucking bought me roller skates for no reason other than I've been talking about it.
Do we not have roller skates, or do we only have roller blades?
I don't think we have either anymore.
Did we get rid of them?
I think, yeah, because no one was fucking using them.
That's fucked up.
Well, use them then.
I guess not. I'm one of those people that, I mean, I guess I did just say that, but I also believe that if you're not using something, you might as well either sell it or give it to someone who needs it or wants it more than you. Or
So I tried them out for the first time yesterday. And they fit freaking perfectly. And I never really stopped have been able to stop myself as I'm roller skating. Mm-hmm. I just run into the walls of the roller rink.
Right.
And that's fine. It doesn't hurt, and obviously or anything. I just slow myself down and then get off. But yesterday I was teaching myself how to properly stop if I needed to.
Gotcha.
So that was good. Yeah.
Now that we're sitting here, I remembered something about my week. So I'm at work, and I'm working on a Saturday, and there's a lot of people in the store on a Saturday. And as I'm walking by the top of the stairs, because I work on the second level of the building that I work in, I'm walking by the top of the stairs, and there's this woman with a gun case that is probably as big as she is. She's a very small lady. And she goes, excuse me, can you help me get this down to the cash register? And I was like, yeah, no problem. And so her and her friend, like classic white women, right? Very upper middle class, kind of sounds snooty, making very polite conversation. And I'm carrying this big ass case, but it's not, I mean, I am me, you know. And we're going, and I'm just making conversation with them, and I get them to the register, and I'm like, do you want me to grab someone, or I can just help you get this out to the car, or, you know, what do you want to do? And she's like, yeah, I definitely need to help out of the car. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll get this out there for you. And we get this out there, and they're, you know, she's going back to California with it because it's her husband's or Father's Day or something like that. And just a real pleasant interaction, you know, nothing really to write home about. And I put it in their car, and I start walking away, and she gets in the car, and I'm probably 50 feet from their car, like walking back towards the store. And I hear the door of the car close again. And she goes, you know what? No, I'm sorry. No. And I'm like, I'm just waiting to be berated for something, or like I said something rude. Yeah. And so I turn around with this like, oh, no, ma'am, I just want to go back to work, right? And she goes, you, and just like starts you have been so helpful, and you're so well-spoken, and you have such a lovely voice, and just like go, and I'm like, I thank you, ma'am, like I appreciate it, I just want to go back inside. And she goes, no, you know, because this is what all people do to you when you are our age, is just ask you what that you want to be, and things like this. And I told her that I was going to school for wildlife and everything like that, and she's like, you need to be in politics. And I was like, oh, is that... And she's like, you are so well-spoken, and you're just a lovely person, and I would vote for you. You should run for mayor of Reno.
Oh my
God.
I
was like, why? Okay, you don't live here. Yeah. Like, you can't vote for me. I appreciate it. Yeah. I respect that, especially being as young as I am. But, no, ma'am. No, I do not. Thank you. And then she said, yep, well, I just wanted to tell you that. You have a blessed day. And she goes and gets back, and I was like, this is worth getting out of the car for? Like... You know, so it was like, I forget what her name was. It was like Cece Merengues or something like that. But like the whitest merengues that has ever existed.
Right.
And I was like, well, thanks, ma'am.
Well, but people have been telling you stuff like that for literally forever.
So I've gotten a lot of, because of the voice, obviously, people telling me that I should be on radio and things like that. And I've told most of them, because of course they're all older people that are telling me this. my usual response is, well, radio's a dying medium, and I don't really want to invest my time in something that'll be dead in the next, I'm going to say, 20 years. But now here we are doing this podcast where I feel like I can use that to my abilities. But I agree. I think that something like that, because I also don't really have a fear of getting up in public, which is a rare thing, I think, at least. So yeah, I can do that. I could get in front of people and talk about things.
Right. A lot. You've gotten radio. You've gotten newscaster. You have politics now.
I do get newscaster a lot.
Which you could totally do.
Yeah, I could. I don't know. There's things about those jobs that interest me.
Right.
But the other thing that really irks me in particular is just bureaucracy. And so to invest in a career where that is the career is red tape and people telling you no and why no is because is the answer that comes back is
not a
fucking
feeling.
Well, and then there's the argument that maybe you should go into that career so you can change things
it.
like that, right? But I'm like, fucking God, like, yeah. Anyways, catch me in 15 years when I'm a politician, everybody.
Nick, 20, 30.
35.
Well, because you have to
15 years.
35 to be are you doing president?
I feel like I got to get some stuff under my belt before I'm president.
Well, yeah.
So let's talk 5 years and I'll be mayor. Let's do that first.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds good. Okie dokie. So, that's our week. Wow.
I was going to say it's terrible translation for the podcast, but this dog that is in here is half on his back with his legs splayed open for all the world to see.
Yes. He's a baby.
He's a hairy baby.
He's a hairy baby. Anyways, our topic for this week is gonna be zombies. Zombie.
Make the Minecraft zombie noise.
There you go.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Zombies. Should we be scared of them? Should you be scared of them? Are they fast? Are they slow? Is it people or just animals? Not that one. Is it animals and people or just people? I almost did it again.
Or, I guess, just animals. But that would be weird.
Yeah.
Also, I think we would win.
Against animal zombies?
Yeah. Unless it was, like, all animals.
Well, because that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, if it is communicable to all forms of life, you're gonna get bug zombies. Because say that, I don't know, because it's got to start with, like, something that's in a lab, right? So you're either starting at chimps or mice, right? So say you start with mice and then the mice get out. Okay, what are the mice going to eat? Not a whole lot. What's going to eat the mice?
Snake.
A lot. Snake.
Owl.
Hawk. Owl. Etc. Yeah?
Diego.
Yeah, he does catch and destroy mice. But if you eat a zombie, do you become a zombie?
Yeah.
Do you?
If you eat the whole zombie, you're gonna become the zombie because...
Okay, what if you eat part of a zombie?
Depends what part, because if it has to do for some reason with saliva,
okay,
and you don't eat their mouth,
okay,
or like where the saliva is present, like their head or something.
Well, is it that their saliva is infectious, or is it that there's a bacteria in their body that is most commonly transmitted through saliva? Because a lot of stuff that can be transmitted through saliva is also transmissible through blood. Or, I think, feces? I don't know. I don't presume to know things.
But therefore, then yes. Because the way that it gets you through biting is the saliva right. and then the blood. Penetration, whatever.
Yeah. So, then you have hawk zombies, which again is the idea of a zombie that it is just driven by violence. Is it driven by flesh? There's a lot of different media that we can pull from, right? In the grand scheme of things, I think if the zombie is slow, because I think if a zombie is slow, and it's like a hawk or something like that, I don't think it can fly anymore.
Right, if it's, because you need the momentum to be able to fly.
Right, of like quick movement and things like this.
Otherwise, it's just gliding and then...
Right.
So maybe they could glide, but it's not like they can be fast.
Right,
and
like you
fly.
can take it with a tennis racket and just bat that shit,
yeah,
you know?
Right. I think that obviously there's a ton of zombie media to go off of, but like, and I don't really know much about any of it because it freaks me out.
Yes.
But I kind of feel like zombies are the personification of the virus, because a virus's whole point is to spread, right? That's why we sneeze and why we cough and that kind of thing. And so the motivations for the zombies, I feel like, is the virus taking over so much
that it wants to spread itself.
Right, that its only thing is wanting to spread.
Okay.
So other things probably say like insatiable hunger or something like that. Which is why the whole
Or if you go old school, it's hunger for brains specifically.
Yeah. Which in that case, probably smaller stuff is going to be safe or safer because is mouse brains worth going
like
after?
Popcorn brains.
Right. But all I'm saying is if there are gorilla zombies...
Oh, well, like,
fucking...
any big, like, I don't know if gorillas qualify as megafauna, but anything like that, like...
Moose.
Right, well, at some point it's going to get into the water systems, and now you have zombie either sharks, which is the, easy conclusion. How about a fucking zombie like orca?
Right.
Like, that's just a death boat.
That is just
more like a submarine.
Because they're also kind of death... They're already kind of death submarine.
Yeah.
But, like... That is just fucking, you're gone. Literally, everything it destroys each other dead.
Right. I mean, orcas, I think, for the most part, aren't big enough to just, like, consume you, like, in one bite. But they could definitely take, like, half of you.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Half of you.
Yep.
One thing that's always bothered me about zombies is how they are portrayed as, like, falling apart.
Okay.
But then they can go fast. I'm like, it's...
Go fast.
Like run.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about fast zombies now.
Yeah. Because of course, if zombies are fast, I'm fucking done.
Okay.
Like, the Suicide Pact is...
In full swing.
In full swing. If they're slow, we'll see. I feel like we'll see where it goes for a while.
See, that's my thing with slow zombies, though, is I think that they are of no threat. And especially in the U.S., right? So there's the... Oh, I forget. I don't know if it was Hirohito or whoever was in charge of Japan during World War II or just some general. But they were asked at some point about, well, what do you think about invading America, right? Because they did Pearl Harbor, and then he's like, do you think that we could go? And he's like, dude, I don't know what the exact quote was, but it was something to the effect of, if you were to invade America, you would find a rifle behind every blade of grass. Or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little true. Because especially working in a place that we sell guns and the number of guns that people buy. Like, there are dudes that I know because they come in every 2 weeks when their paycheck hits to get a gun.
Right, which is insane.
Right.
Right. There's enough people with knowledge, at least a small amount of knowledge about firearms in America, where it's like...
Enough to make it work.
Right.
Right. Like we did, so there was a thing that our school offered where you could go and play a VR system as long as you had the game yourself. And I did it originally as a kind of experiment because I'm like, hey, all of my friends who like know what a gun is but maybe haven't been around a gun and stuff like that, I put them into a simulation type game where they functioned exactly as they do in real life. And I just put the headset and gave them the controllers and said, okay, make it work. And it took a couple of minutes, but I think everyone got to the point of like, oh no, I can shoot this now,
Yeah, because I did it too, huh?
Yeah, you did.
I don't remember how mine went.
Well, because I mean, I don't know what gun or anything like that you chose to try and use, right? But growing up in our family, that's the thing, because we come from a hunting background and stuff like that. So again, you are not that person, and it took you a second. But you got it way quicker than most folks. Because again, you're like, bullet goes in here and gun.
Well, and also, like, the safety is one thing that a lot of people, like, forget or have...
Because they're clicking on the trigger like, why won't it go?
Yeah, why won't it shoot?
Right.
Right, because in The Walking Dead, doesn't it start in the South?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fucking the South... I mean, are you joking?
Well, yeah, so it starts in Georgia.
Right.
Right. And also the main character is a cop.
Right. He was a sheriff?
Yeah, sheriff. But I mean, when he wakes up, he doesn't have a bunch of guns and stuff like that. Because he was in a hospital in a coma. But yeah, no, exactly. And I'm like, if it starts in the South, like, it's toast.
Taken care of.
Right. I mean, like, dudes in the street just like, okay, let's solve this problem.
Right.
You know?
Especially with the amount of, like, zombie media that has been consumed and made.
Right.
People know enough to where it's like...
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Is that in all zombie media, there has been no zombie media.
Right.
They're seeing these things, they're like, what in the goddamn fuck is this?
Right.
Whereas I feel like we've, had enough media about zombies that if something similar showed up, like The Last of Us, I don't know if you're familiar.
No, yeah.
But the second game just came out, and so it's on people's minds. But that's cordyceps, which is a fungus that takes over your brain and everything like that.
Doesn't it look like mushrooms or something?
Exactly. Well, because it is literally a fungus.
Okay.
Right. And the people aren't really zombies. They are just being, again, piloted by the fungus in order to become a big, like, mushroom that shoots spores and stuff like that, right? And until they turn into the fungus, like the big mushroom, they are just hyper violent, and so there's no eating, it's just murder,
right.
Yeah,
I watched my friend play that game. And it was really fun to watch. Often it's hard for me to, like, just straight up watch video games.
Right.
But that was, like, pretty exciting.
Well, that's one that I think, because I don't know, do you know what happens in that game or anything like that?
Just like the storyline, you mean?
Yeah.
Not really.
Because that I think would be a fun game to sit down and play together, or like I play it and that you watch it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there's a lot of brutal shit that happens, and it's like.
Don't you find tapes or notes or?
I mean, you do. Like, you find little, like, side story stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's all the joy of zombie fiction without your fears surrounding zombie fiction of being, like, eaten, right?
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's the thing, too, is if they're slow zombies, like, at least our family is equipped to survive.
Well,
you know
think
what I
about,
mean?
and it's not even that our parents are big gun people or anything like that. I mean, Dad is a hunter and I'm a hunter and stuff like that. But we have also inherited just a shit ton of stuff or are holding on to it for other people. So, I mean, get all of our not even immediate family members, that's just the nuclear family, right? But the four of us plus just our other family in town, the biggest issue is feeding ourselves, right? Because we're set to defend whatever house for days, Yeah.
Like, seriously, and almost any one of our houses is very defendable.
Right. Actually, this one is probably one of the least defendable.
Right. I agree with that. But you know what? If we got all our family in town, like, together, including, like, grandparents and
Yep.
We would just have to go somewhere where things can grow. And Mom and Papa would be like, here we go.
We are farmers
We're farmers now.
Well, that's basically what happens in The Walking Dead is they find a place that is particularly defensible.
Right.
And they just have a field that's fenced off. And they're like, guess we're growing potatoes now.
Right.
Because you're going to run out of cans eventually.
Right. With Herschel.
Exactly.
Isn't it his farm?
Well, that is a place. That is not the place that I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Because we'd be set. And Dad knows how to take care of livestock.
Right.
Or at least partially does.
Yeah, he has some background in that, doing 4-H and shit.
Yeah. And if not, we have a great uncle who lives in Washington with a farm.
So that's the journey is up to Washington to see Uncle Reg?
I think so.
Good deal.
I think so. So, we're set. If it's a World War Z type situation...
Oh, Fast Zombies is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I'm done.
Because the whole thing with a slow zombie is that it is super easy to dispatch. Assuming, again, this is under the assumption of common zombie media where you have to destroy or scramble the brain in order to stop it.
Right. In Walking Dead, though, don't they live, like... if basically, like, anything happens to them?
So, the whole No, so the whole thing with the zombies in The Walking Dead is, first of all, if you get bit, it happens immediately. But spoilers for the end of season 1 and maybe 2. I think it's just season 1 of The Walking Dead. Everyone is infected.
Right.
Right. So any kind of death, and you are a zombie now.
Right.
Right. Unless your head is destroyed, or your brain is destroyed, or something. But it's, I mean, it can be a screwdriver, it can be a bullet, it can be whatever.
Okay.
As long as there is some damage to the brain, you're basically toast.
Okay. Yeah, so that's fine.
Right.
World War Z was, like, crazy.
Right.
Like, I don't know, I mean, the amount of suicides that probably happened when that happened. Just because how awful. Like, the scene, I guess spoilers, but I think it was in the commercial, so maybe not.
Yeah.
Where all the zombies are just, like, running at a wall and then they're climbing on top of each other to, like, get over it.
Because it's like, because everyone thinks, like, oh, zombie apocalypse, okay, I'm going to hide in this tower. And it's like, okay.
Right.
Gotta come out for food eventually. Or maybe a zombie sees you go in the tower. And how long until the pile is big enough to just knock it over or get to you?
Right.
You know? And that's even with slow zombies. So fast zombies. The other thing is, like, to hit a target of even just a walking person, like just shambling, is relatively easy. Like, that's something I think I could train up to you or whatever family member in probably like a week to do consistently. To shoot a person, because in World War Z they're like sprinting,
right, full
and
sprint.
In some cases like running on all fours and like jumping around and shit, right? At that point it's like, you're talking like explosives to consistently kill, you know?
Yeah, because there's no fucking way. Even if you're the best, like, sniper in the world, you know, the amount of...
Well, and that's for one.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So you have to develop, like, funnels, basically, of, hey, everyone get to running down this hallway so I can just keep the gun at a level and just
right,
you know?
Right.
So yeah, fast zombies, I mean, that's proper apocalypse. I think slow zombies is like weird thing that happens in the news one week and then it's over.
Right. With a lot of people fucking traumatized for literally forever, but...
Well, we have this virus and everything that's going on in the U.S. right now. And it's not... I mean, it is an ever-present threat, but it's not, like, dire to the point of extinction.
Right.
Imagine something like that, where it's like, oh no, zombies are real now.
Right.
You know?
You would hope that people would be smart enough to steer clear of that kind of thing and take the proper precautions. But
God, I want to play The Last of Us with you so bad. Because I think the most interesting part of any zombie media is day zero. Like, the day that shit happens. Right? And that's where that game starts.
Oh, really?
Is the first day of when they're, you know, in whatever... Because it's the same thing, it's down south. Whatever town they're in. And all you're seeing shit on the news and no one really knows what's going on, but the military's coming in and everyone's like, what the... And there's riots and stuff like that happening. And then they're driving down the street because your brother calls you up and is like, dude, we got to get the fuck out of here. And isn't really explaining anything. And you get in the car and all of a sudden you turn a corner and it's just happening.
Jeez.
Right? Or like in Train to Busan, which I know you haven't seen, but it's a Korean zombie movie. Right? And it's about a father and his little girl getting on a train to go drop her off at her mother's house. And they get on the train, and it's just a regular train full of people. And then they're hearing shit on the news and on the radio, and they're like, and there's like weird military checkpoints that are set up that they see as they're riding on the train. And they get to the next station, and the train stops, but before the doors open, the chaos is just happening. Like, all the people on the station are like fighting zombies and getting eaten and shit like that. And they start yelling at the driver, like, don't fucking open those doors. We need to go. Yeah. We need to get out of here. And they just keep driving deeper and deeper because they're on the track. They can't turn around. Exactly.
That is awful. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I think that the reason that I was so anxious about zombies is, first of all, getting killed by getting eaten is awful, but also somebody with human teeth trying to bite through you,
right,
while successful, worse than...
So, I also, one of my only irrational fears is being eaten. right, usually it is either consumed in whole or in half, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've had dreams of being eaten by a shark before, and it was like one snap, and I'm just in its mouth.
Right.
Right.
Which is...
And I'm like, but being eaten in pieces is so exponentially worse.
Right.
Right?
Because you don't die for literally so long.
Well, it depends where they bite you, right? Because
Right.
even if they get a neck shot in, like, you're still sitting there for a couple of seconds as
Right.
you just
Well,
spurting
yeah.
blood out of your neck.
Exactly. So you either die from blood loss, or you don't die until they get to your heart.
Right. Like,
Because
they're
no
digging
way
into
they're
you.
getting to
Yeah.
your brain before.
Correct.
So that is just so awful.
Mm-hmm.
So that really freaks me out. But also the fact that it's people. Like,
There's something about that element of it that it is wrong what
Right.
is happening.
well, and it's just so disturbing.
Yeah.
Like, because you can recognize that they are a person,
Mm-hmm.
but they've just gone totally feral, you
Mhm.
know? And also depending on the zombie media, but they could be like decomposing.
Right.
So it's just fucking...
Well, I think the decomposing aspect actually helps it because it's scary. Like, it's creepy what's happening, but it dehumanizes them.
Right.
And it turns them into a monster, and so you don't get weird... I mean, you probably still do. I don't obviously know. But there's less, like, psychological damage that you're taking of, like, I shoot the monster because it's not a person, you know, versus someone who's, like, freshly turned and still looks like a person, just with the bloodshot eyes or the green or pale skin or whatever it is,
Right.
and all of that.
Right. Because you know the movie I Am Legend?
Yeah.
Like those zombies?
Right.
I'm like, that's not a person.
Well, and in the book, I think originally is what it's based off of. They're not people. They're not zombies. They're vampires.
Oh, really?
Which is why they only come out after the sun is down.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Right. Because, like, those things are just, like,
Right.
blue and hairless, and they don't have,
Right.
like, you know, they just don't look like people. So you're like, okay, this is just, like, an alien or a monster.
Exactly.
Whereas, like, fucking Walking Dead is like, there's my, like, family member walking down the street.
Exactly.
And I have to shoot
Well,
him.
I was going to say, because you've seen the first couple of episodes, right? And that's...
No, I think I've seen seasons. I think
really?
that I've seen at least until Carl gets... Spoiler alert, I don't know when.
Season.
Second season. Carl gets shot.
And right up to that. Because I think that's where our family originally stopped watching it, because it was just not a thing that we all wanted to
Right.
do.
And my best friend at the time really was into it, so I'd watch episodes with her here and there. So I watched some episodes when they're at the prison and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, that's when
I
shit-
know about the governor.
I was going to
and
say,
shit.
when they get to the prison, that's when shit starts to get fucked up. Because,
Right.
again, I think in a slow zombie apocalypse, and assuming that it did get out of control to the point that it's like collapse of society, the real big issue is not the zombies necessarily. I mean, obviously you get a couple hundred, and that's a fucking problem, right?
Right.
But the greater issue is your fellow man, right? Like, even long before the prison, they are just driving around kind of looking for a place and stuff like that. And at one point, they're hanging out in a bar,
I remember that.
and these two dudes just kind of like walk in, and they're like, "Hey guys," and there's just this tension of like, "Ha, strangers with guns."
Right, exactly. Because, like, I feel like having an established government,
Right.
really, and like law, you know, obviously.
Well, that's the thing,
keeps-
is it's society. It's not the government.
Right, yeah, you're right. So, like, it keeps people in line because there will be consequences.
Right. They feel that there will be repercussions for acting
Right.
out of the laws of that society.
Well, and also, like, societal norms, too. Like,
Right.
you can't be
Well,
fucking...
social pressure can be a great thing. Because if
Exactly.
everyone feels like it's a bad thing to do,
Right.
there's a lot fewer people. I mean, you're going to get crazies that still go and do crazy shit, as
Right.
is the evidence of murderers, serial killers, rapists, etc. Right. But you deter so much of that behavior by everyone just going, we agree not to do that.
Right. Well, and yeah, so when the government / society
Mhm.
just fucking collapses, there's going to be so many people that's like, fuck it.
Right.
Nothing's going to happen to me.
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, I don't want to get too real with it, but take it to a place of what we're watching happen with a lot of these riots in America. There's a lot of protests happening that are lawful and reasonable and good protests. and even some of the quote rioting of like destroying Confederate statues is like, okay, sure, like it is illegal what you're doing, but I get it, right? Then there's the people, like especially around where we live, who it's like nothing that I'm aware of at least, and I could be speaking out of total ignorance. Nothing around where we are, I think, is based off of any Confederate leaders or anything like that. Like we were brought into the Northern Union during the Civil War, right? And so there's these protests, and then all of a sudden it just turns to rampant violence for, I don't want to say no reason, because there are people that are rioting because of the whole, Black Lives Matter and the, systemic racism and everything like that. But there are people who are like, fuck yeah, I don't get in trouble for breaking shit. And that's as simple as it is. Right.
Yeah, and I agree that it's hard to watch the violence and rioting, but also compared to the thing that they started the protest for in the first place.
Well, again,
it's like
the protests, I don't feel like it does technically have a connection to the rioting, right? Because one follows the other. But the protests, I'm totally on board with, because I'm like, you need to sit and speak and make your voice heard, And I don't want to encourage violence. I think the best kind of situation is that we can follow through in a peaceful manner with a government that is willing to listen to us. But, there's also a point where it's like, no, this statue stands for my people being less than, But anyway, zombies, we see how quickly society can jump to something like that when it feels like there is a good enough reason or that someone starts that. And so if there is an actual threat and that, like, Utah is in flames right now, there's some shit. Like, people are going to start freaking out and being like, all right, government is not in control anymore because they can't keep the shit under control.
Right. Right. Well, and, like, just what happened at the beginning of the pandemic where everyone's buying out, like, fucking everything at the grocery store.
Well, the grocery store, from the place that I work, it was guns and ammo and targets and scopes and lasers and...
Yeah. So, like, the panic that is induced in people, especially if you're not, like, in the area where it began. Like, if it began in the South, it's gonna take a while, probably,
to get up here. Right.
And so, like, the panic that would arise and the, like, chaos that would happen here before even anything necessarily got here would be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so that we do have the zombie media, because if it's kind of like a question mark of like, I don't know what's going on, it's whatever. Well, people are going to be like,
it is media like that we have stories that we have told for generations in some cases about what happens, right, when something like this happens. And I've gotten people before that are buying, like, swords or, like, big-ass Bowie knives, and they're like, yeah, man, when the apocalypse comes or the zombies come out, I'll be ready. And they're not joking, right? Like, because the apocalypse people, I'm like, sure, because there are nukes and there's things that can happen. But some of those people are also just like, no, zombies. Like, I'm ready. Yeah. Like, they're coming and I'm ready. Yeah. So,
it would be very just chaos. I don't even want to think about the awful shit that would go down.
We got a trailer, we got guns, and we got a lot of cans. We're going up in the fucking hills.
Yeah.
The dirtiest, hardest road that we can get that trailer onto. And we're sitting. And we'll have a radio, and when somebody starts being like, hey guys, everything's good. We're trying to reform. All right, we're going back. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. So.
How are we doing on time?
Great.
Wow, we are doing great.
Yeah.
What do you think? Anything else you want to kind of stick in there? Any closing remarks that you have?
Not really. Just besides if we have animal zombies, I'm out. If we have fast zombies, I'm out.
I think animal zombies is way more doable than fast zombies.
Oh, I agree.
But the thing is like, is there because I don't think it has to be, in most fiction, a level of bite. It just has to penetrate the skin.
Yeah,
exactly. So if you have zombie mice, you're done. Like, because you're going to sit there and, like, something's going to crawl and just nip you in the night, and now you're dead.
Right.
You know? Or, like, the same thing, like, if a mosquito lands on a zombie something and draws some blood out.
Right.
Is it now a zombie mosquito? Or even if it's not a zombie mosquito.
It's going to give you
it's
zombie
still
blood.
Communicable. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like the same thing with HIV, or is malaria the same thing?
What do you mean?
Like how it gets communicated through blood?
Well, it's a big thing for mosquitoes.
Right, so I would assume so.
So that would be
just live in the middle of the desert where there are no mosquitoes.
Right.
And nothing.
But I mean, there's still so much though in the desert. I mean,
what you got? Camels? Like, I could fight a fucking zombie camel.
Kangaroo. Oh, you mean like Sahara Desert?
Oh, sure.
I thought you meant like up
Australia
by us.
Desert?
No, like us, like Nevadan Desert.
Oh, I mean, well, we still, yeah, there's shit out there. Like,
right.
You know, every now and then, because, like, as a zombie deer, like, they're coming for you still, right?
Yeah.
You know? That's fucking, deer are fucking scary.
Deer are fucking scary.
Like, even a doe who doesn't have antlers, right?
Just
like,
the
that is
presence of one is a
large
threat.
animal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially when you're talking something that you can shoot it, and unless you either immobilize it or kill it, it's still coming.
Right.
So. Cool. Well, I think that's all that I have to say.
Same. So the lesson here, children, is
slow zombies, probably not a threat.
Yeah.
Probably going to be okay because of the Bible Belt.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw, Bible Belt.
Bible Belt.
You keep doing it.
What are you good for?
What'll stop the zombies?
The Bible.
Jesus and guns. Fast zombies. That's a real threat. That's a problem.
Only Brad Pitt can save us.
Only Brad Pitt can save us by shooting himself up with swine flu.
Yeah.
Yep. And then animal zombies, if it is transmissible to insects, that's like an instant game over. If it is not, well...
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
If you have any questions about zombies or our lives or literally anything...
I was going to say, if you want to ask a question relevant to the discussion or not and want us to answer it on air for you or your friends who listen...
For you.
You can send an email. Well, you can contact us on Reddit, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, or send an email to hypotheticalsiblings@gmail.com. That's hypothetical, HYPOTHETICAL, siblings, SIBLINGS @gmail.com.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Next week.
Oh, I gotta hit